Hey, amazing fans! Welcome to another relaxing moment with VIVA'S stories. Before we dive into the drama, don't forget to subscribe, smash that like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support means the world to us. Now, grab a seat, sit back, relax, and let's journey into the story together. Sometimes the most powerful return is the one wrapped in silence. The scorching sun hung low in the sky like a golden noose, its heat pressing against the cracked red earth of Iruolu Town, a place where gossip traveled faster than light and memories stretched longer than time itself. Dust swirled lazily around the battered soles of Amara Bennett's sandals as she stood outside the wrought iron gates of the house she once called home. The estate, though slightly aged, still exuded wealth. A two-story colonial structure with a large veranda and two concrete lion statues flanking the entrance like watchful guards. But Amara looked nothing like she belonged there. Her jeans were faded, her blouse clung to her with sweat and travel stains, and the old brown suitcase by her side looked like it had been through war. Her tightly braided hair was pulled into a low bun, and she had a face that time had carved with wisdom. Not broken, but hardened, like tempered steel. She paused. 10 years. 10 years since she left this place. 10 years since the last bitter words with her father. 10 years since Maureen, her stepmother, had sneered, "You think the world out there cares for an idealistic little girl with big dreams?" She was 20 then. She was 30 now. She reached into her handbag and pulled out her cracked phone. The battery was low, but that didn't matter. There was no one to call. No warm welcome awaited her. This wasn't a homecoming. It was a reckoning. Amara placed her hand on the old gate. Rust stained her fingertips. It creaked open. Not one of the 5 domestic workers in the compound stirred. No barking dogs. No shouts of welcome. No curious heads peeking from windows. Just silence. Then footsteps, deliberate, slow, and familiar. From the veranda emerged Maureen, regal as ever in her flowing ochre gown and coral beads. Her skin was ageless, her hair pinned into a bun of matriarchal defiance. She looked at Amara like one might look at a ghost that refused to stay buried. "Look what the wind dragged in," Maureen said, her arms folded, eyes scanning Amara's ragged figure with theatrical disappointment. Or should I say, limped in? Amara didn't flinch. "Good afternoon, Maureen." Maureen clicked her tongue. "After 10 years? No call. No letter. Not even when your father—" She stopped. "You have the nerve to show up like this?" "I'm here for a reason," Amara said calmly. "I'm sure you are. But this isn't a charity home." Maureen turned with a dismissive wave. "If you're looking for handouts, the church down the road feeds the homeless every Friday." Amara didn't respond. She simply picked up her suitcase and began walking toward the main house, her steps deliberate, each one a small rebellion. The gravel crunched beneath her feet like bones. Maureen's voice lashed again, this time louder. "You think you can walk in here like nothing happened? You—" "I'm tired," Amara said, still walking. "Save the performance. You can get back to your afternoon gin and your favorite pastime, gossip." For a second, Maureen stood frozen, mouth agape. Then she chuckled, slow, venomous. "Still full of attitude. No wonder the world spat you back here." The entrance hall of the estate was colder than Amara remembered. Not in temperature, but in spirit. The warm photographs of family gatherings were gone. In their place were abstract paintings and decorative mirrors. The house felt like a museum curated by a woman desperate to erase the past. She stood quietly, absorbing it all. Then came a sharp voice from the staircase. "Well, well, the prodigal sister returns." Leka, her half-brother, descended the stairs in designer sneakers, a gold chain swinging on his chest. He was taller, leaner, flashier. His wristwatch alone could pay her university tuition twice over. "You're really here," he said, pausing mid-step. "Thought it was a prank." "Disappointed?" He smirked. Just surprised. I thought deported people came in handcuffs." "I wasn't deported." "You just disappeared for 10 years and came back looking like a National Geographic special." He glanced at her suitcase. "That all your luggage?" "Yes." He laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. Welcome home, sis. Amara didn't bother replying. The silence was deafening as the three stood in the grand hall, her suitcase between them like a grave marker. Later that evening, as the sky bruised into twilight, a family dinner was arranged, not out of affection, but obligation. The long mahogany table was set extravagantly, wine glasses, gold-trimmed plates, roast chicken, jollof rice, pepper soup, and salads that no one touched. The servants moved like shadows, their eyes flickering with curiosity and fear. Amara sat at one end of the table, Maureen and Leke at the other. The empty chair beside her once belonged to her father. No one mentioned his name. "You've lost weight," Maureen said, cutting into her chicken. "London must be hard." Amara sipped her water. "Not as hard as home." Maureen arched an eyebrow. "So, what did you do over there? After your job disappeared?" Amara didn't answer. Leke leaned forward, feigning concern. "You must have been through it. All that talk about tech empires and big dreams, then poof. Nothing. You vanish. Not even a tweet." "Not everyone likes to broadcast their pain," Amara replied. Maureen laughed. "Or their failure." A servant coughed to mask the awkward silence. Leke raised his glass. "To comebacks. Even if they're barefoot." Amara's hand tightened around her fork. She took a breath. "I'm not here for pity. Or forgiveness. I'm here because it's time." Maureen narrowed her eyes. "Time for what?" "You'll see." That night, Maureen escorted her down the hallway, heels clicking sharply. She stopped at a small door near the servant quarters. "You can sleep here," Maureen said, unlocking it with a tiny brass key. "We turned your old room into storage." The room was barely furnished. A narrow bed, a plastic chair, a flickering bulb. The smell of cleaning supplies lingered in the air. Amara looked around and said nothing. Maureen lingered by the door. "You should be grateful we're even taking you in. Some families would have closed the door." Amara turned to her, eyes steady. "You didn't take me in. I walked in." With that, she shut the door. Maureen stood outside for a beat, then walked away. Alone in the room, Amara opened her suitcase. Inside were only a few clothes, a small tin of cream, a folded scarf, a worn leather journal, and a single flash drive tucked inside the lining. She held it in her hand, stared at it, then whispered to herself, "Let the games begin." Morning in Iruolu Town began with the slow hum of generators, the chirp of restless birds, and the smell of frying akara from distant roadside vendors. But inside the Bennett estate, the air was thick, not with peace, but pretension. Amara rose early, her sleep broken by strange dreams, blurry images of her father's voice, of courtroom arguments, of betrayal under fluorescent lights. She sat on the edge of the small bed in the maid's room, her feet brushing against the cool tiled floor. There was no welcome note. No tray of breakfast. Just silence. She stretched, tied her scarf, and stepped outside. The corridor was empty. But voices, low, sharp, deliberate, were already drifting from the dining area. She walked slowly, quietly. "You should have seen her," Maureen said, her voice tight with annoyance. "Dragging her bag like some refugee. And now she expects what? Sympathy? Re-entry into this family?" Leke's voice, casual and smug, replied, "Relax, Mum. She'll be gone soon. Probably realize there's no pot of gold at the end of the London hustle. And what if she hasn't come to beg? What if she knows something?" Maureen's tone shifted. Leke paused. "Like what?" "You forget," Maureen said, her voice dropping to a whisper. "Your father made some unusual arrangements in his last months. I couldn't find all the papers. Just a draft will. There may be more." Footsteps approached. Amara stepped back into the shadows. A housekeeper appeared from a side hallway and gave her a startled look. "Sorry, madam, I didn't see you." Amara smiled faintly. "Don't worry." She waited until the conversation inside stopped, then walked in. Maureen turned mid-sip of her coffee, her lips twitching into a fake smile. "Oh, good morning, dear. Something sweet?" Amara walked to the table, poured herself tea. "Like royalty." Leke chuckled behind his phone. "You always had a sharp tongue." And you always had a short memory, she replied, sitting down. The table was laid, fried plantains, pap, toast, and stewed eggs, but only Leke and Maureen had served themselves. Amara took a small plate and helped herself, moving slowly, deliberately. Leke eyed her. So what's the plan, sis? Start over here? Teach coding to village kids? Sell recharge cards? Amara didn't blink. Just observing for now. You can learn a lot in silence. Maureen cut in. You don't need to play mysterious. If you're in trouble, say it. Maybe we can get you a small place in town. Something manageable. But staying here, that's not sustainable. And yet, Amara said, sipping her tea, here I am. There was silence for a beat. Maureen smiled again, colder this time. You've always been dramatic. Your father indulged it. But he's not here now. Amara set her cup down. No, he's not. But his legacy is. The tension in the room sharpened like a drawn blade. Leke snorted. Legacy? Please. You abandoned everything. Don't act like you're some fallen princess returning to reclaim the throne. Maureen leaned forward. You think this is a Nollywood film? Amara stood slowly. No. In Nollywood, villains always get what's coming. Real life takes a little longer. She walked away before they could respond. By midday, the estate was buzzing with staff movement. Housekeepers cleaning, drivers washing cars, cooks preparing lunch. Amara wandered through the grounds like a ghost, unseen by many but watched by all. She passed her old garden, now overgrown. The small reading hut her father had built for her when she turned 16, now used for storing paint buckets. The memories rose like smoke, birthday parties under the mango tree, quiet evenings reading beside her father, Maureen's icy stares when no one was watching. Amara stopped at the backyard, where two housemaids were whispering over laundry. They went silent as she approached. Don't stop on my account, Amara said calmly. The older one, Ngozi, gave a nervous smile. Ah, welcome back, madam. Thank you. How long have you worked here? 6 years, Ngozi said. Since Oga died. And you? Amara asked the younger maid. 3 years, the girl replied. Amara nodded. Was anything ever moved from the old storage room? My former bedroom. Ngozi shook her head. No, madam. But Madam Maureen say make nobody enter there again. She keep padlock sometimes. I see. She walked on, her eyes scanning every window, every lock, every possibility. That evening, Maureen hosted a few of her friends, a group of society women who wore their wealth like war medals. The living room became a theater of judgment and laughter. Amara walked in unnoticed at first. One of the women, a tall woman with layers of gold jewelry, whispered, Is that her? The abroad one that came back with nothing? Another chuckled. She's even darker now. Abroad didn't bleach her one bit. She doesn't look like someone who studied in London. Maybe she only passed Heathrow before they sent her back. They laughed, soft, elegant cruelty. Maureen stood and clapped her hands. Ladies, please. This is Amara. You remember her? Amara smiled with biting poise. No need for introductions. Everyone here has already told my story better than I could. The room went quiet. Maureen chuckled awkwardly. She always had jokes. One woman, braver than the rest, asked, So, what happened over there, dear? You were doing so well. Amara stared at her, then said, Life happened. People betrayed me. And I learned that silence is a better currency than pride. There was another silence, deeper this time. Maureen quickly moved to change the subject. Well, you know, not everyone is cut out for the abroad struggle. That's why it's good to come home. Find your roots again. Maybe marry, settle down. I'll consider that, Amara said, right after I finished digging up what was buried here. Maureen's wine glass trembled slightly in her hand. That night, Amara sat on the veranda with her journal open. The moonlight bathed her face in silver. She wrote carefully, each word a fragment of memory and intent. She heard footsteps, like. He pulled a chair beside her, holding a bottle of whiskey. No hard feelings, sis, he said, pouring 2 glasses. We just didn't expect you. I'm sure. He handed her a glass. You know, Maureen's been edgy since you came. You stir things. Wake up old ghosts. Amara took the glass but didn't drink. Some ghosts deserve to be disturbed. Leke looked at her for a long time. You really came back for something, didn't you? I came back for everything. There was a flicker of fear in his eyes, masked quickly by a grin. Well, good luck with that, he said, standing. But don't be surprised if some doors don't open anymore. Amara replied quietly, then I'll break the locks. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she sat on the floor of her small room, the flash drive in her hand, and a question burning in her mind. What exactly did Maureen and Leke hide after father died? Something wasn't adding up. Not just the strange storage of her old room. Not just the fake cheer. But the smug confidence. The carefully polished lie that no one had challenged, until now. She whispered to herself, if you took what was mine, Maureen, I'll take it all back. She opened her journal and wrote just one line. Day 2. The ice is melting. They're hiding something. I can feel it. Then she lay down and waited for dawn. Evening fell like a velvet curtain over Iruolu Town. The orange sky surrendered to a deep, bruised purple, and the distant hum of generators returned like a background chorus. At the Bennett estate, a flurry of motion unfolded. It wasn't celebration, it was damage control disguised as hospitality. Maureen's voice echoed through the hallways. Set the good china, not the wedding set, the blue-trimmed one. Tell the chef to make the goat pepper soup extra spicy. Amara used to like that, right? And make sure there's jollof rice. Not that plain party one. Add prawns. It wasn't about making Amara feel welcome. It was about control. In the kitchen, the staff whispered among themselves. She's planning something, Ngozi muttered, wiping a plate. The madam or Amara? The cook asked. Both, Ngozi replied. But only one of them knows what's really at stake. By 7 p.m., the dining table was set. 12 chairs. 6 covered dishes. Gold-plated cutlery. Crystal glasses polished to a mirror shine. Amara stood at the top of the stairs, watching it all like a ghost observing her own wake. She had changed into a simple black gown, elegant but plain. No makeup. Her hair pulled back into a low bun. Understated but striking. She descended slowly. At the bottom of the stairs stood Maureen, draped in a wine-colored lace gown, glittering in all the wrong places. My dear, she said too loudly, you clean up well. Amara replied coolly, so does a funeral home. Maureen's smile twitched, but she recovered. Let's eat, shall we? Around the table sat a strange mix of family and acquaintances. Leke, her younger brother, tapping on his phone between every few bites. Auntie Remy, Maureen's older sister, whose eyes danced with judgment. Chuka, Maureen's son from a previous marriage, who barely looked up from his whiskey glass. Pastor Teo, invited under the guise of prayer but truly there for surveillance. And then there was Amara, seated at the far end like an unwanted VIP. As everyone filled their plates, Maureen rang a small bell. Let's bow our heads. Pastor, please. Pastor Teo began. Heavenly Father, we thank you for family, for safe returns, for restoration. Amara opened one eye slightly. Restoration? There had been no apologies. No warmth. Just theatrical hospitality. And we pray for clarity, unity, and a spirit of humility, the pastor droned on. When he finished, everyone chorused a hollow, "Hm." Dinner began. Platters moved hands. Conversations flickered awkwardly. Forks clicked against porcelain. Auntie Remy was the first to strike. So, Amara, you must have stories. London's not beans. What brought you back? Visa issues? Or, she paused, feigning concern, a broken heart. Laughter rippled around the table. Amara chewed slowly, then answered, neither. Just clarity. I realized some things needed to be corrected at home. Maureen's grip on her wine glass tightened. Chuka leaned in. Corrected how? Amara met his eyes. Let's just say, some things were stolen. And I've got the receipts. That quieted the table. Leke smirked. Don't tell me you're into conspiracy theories now. I don't need to theorize, Amara said. I have data. Pastor Teo cleared his throat. Let's not get too serious, children. Tonight is for reunion, not interrogation. Auntie Remy muttered under her breath, she's always been defensive. Amara smiled. Only when I'm hunted. Maureen tried to redirect. Well, we're just happy you're safe. Things weren't easy after your disappearance. Amara looked up. Is that what you call it? Disappearance. Maureen blinked. Amara continued, her voice smooth. You mean when I had a breakdown? When my co-founder stole our project and left me to face legal threats. When I was hospitalized in Manchester for 3 months. Silence. Ah, Amara added, cutting a piece of goat meat. I see we don't talk about real things here. Even Pastor Teo looked down. Leke fumbled. Wait, you were hospitalized? Amara chuckled. Nobody asked. Not then. Not now. A long pause followed. Even the air conditioner hummed louder in embarrassment. Maureen rose abruptly. Dessert, anyone? In the kitchen, Maureen's composure cracked. She slammed a tray down. She came here to expose us. Auntie Remy followed her in. Then shut her down. This is your house now. She's fishing for something, Maureen hissed. Maybe your husband was stupid enough to hide something in her name. Or a trust fund. That girl was always her father's shadow. Back at the table, Amara stood. Thank you all for the delightful meal, she said. Especially the questions disguised as concern. Very nourishing. She turned to Pastor Teo. Man of God, may I ask you something? He hesitated. Of course. Do you believe in restitution? He nodded. Yes, the Bible says. Good, she cut in. Then you'll understand when I say, something stolen must be returned. Publicly. Without waiting for a response, she walked out. Later that night, Leke knocked on her door. She opened it halfway. He looked sheepish. Amara, I didn't know. She raised an eyebrow. Didn't know or didn't care? He hesitated. Maybe both. She sighed, softening. What do you want, Leke? Do you really have proof? Of everything. She didn't answer. He whispered, Mum's worried. If you shake the foundation too hard, the whole house might fall. Amara leaned against the doorframe. Then maybe it was built wrong to begin with. He said nothing, turned and walked away. Alone again, Amara opened her laptop. She inserted the flash drive. Folders popped up. Project Phoenix version 1.2. Equity agreement drafts. Investors NDA scans. Audio, meeting with Chuka.wave. Dat__PDF. Her hands trembled slightly. One folder titled Buried caught her eye. She opened it. Inside, dozens of voice memos, one from her father, dated a week before his death. She clicked play. His voice, soft and shaky, filled the room. Amar, if you're hearing this, then something has gone wrong. I'm sick. They think I don't know what they're planning, but I do. Protect your name. Reclaim your legacy. You were always the one who saw through people. She paused the recording, breath caught in her throat. He knew. Outside her room, Ngozi quietly knelt near the door, praying under her breath. And listening. The city hummed beneath a steel-gray sky, a living machine of ambition, hunger, and disguise. And in one corner of East London, inside a towering co-working space draped in minimalistic furniture and glass walls, Amara Bennett sat in a boardroom. She wasn't just in the room, she owned the room. Stylishly dressed in a navy blue blazer, braids swept into a bun, Amara tapped her iPad, eyes flicking between data charts and the nervous faces of investors across the table. Behind her, a digital screen displayed their logo. Mechanical Arm Nexatech, redefining urban intelligence. Amara spoke. Gentlemen, our proprietary algorithm isn't just predictive, it's adaptive. We've already saved London's Transport Authority £2.3 million in inefficiencies. The next frontier? Africa. Smart cities. Smart transit. Smart futures. The room erupted in applause. Beside her sat Kira Solank, her co-founder and best friend from university, British Nigerian, fiercely intelligent, and just as ambitious. They shared a smile. Years of friendship, Code, caffeine, and sleepless nights had brought them here. Flashback. University of Warwick, first meeting. Kira now speaking "You're Nigerian?" Amara now speaking "Hef. But I speak fluent Excel." Kira now speaking "Same here. Let's build an empire." It had been magic from that moment. Back in the boardroom, Amara's phone vibrated. An email. Subject: Final patent filing, Nexa algorithms. She smiled. It was done. Legally, the IP was protected. Or so she thought. 1 week later, Amara sat in her flat, sipping tea, the winter wind brushing against the window panes. Kira walked in, coat soaked with rain, cheeks red. "You signed without me?" Amara asked quietly. Kira froze. "What?" Amara turned her laptop. On screen was the patent filing, edited, with Kira's name listed as the sole inventor. Kira's voice shook. "Amara, I can explain." "No, don't. I know what this is. It was a clerical mistake." "Stop. We worked 5 years on this. I wrote every line of code." Kira didn't deny it. Instead, she snapped, "And who do you think got us into those rooms? Who made the pitches polished? Who softened your edges?" Amara stood. "You stole my life's work." Kira scoffed. "No. I took control before you cracked under pressure, like you always do." Cracked. The word lodged in Amara's mind like a blade. She staggered back. Her breath shallow. Weeks of stress. Sleepless nights. Self-doubt. Overworking. It all caught up with her in that moment. She collapsed. The hospital. White walls. The scent of antiseptic. A ceiling fan spinning lazily above. She woke up, surrounded by strangers. No family. No friends. A nurse said gently, "You had an episode. You've been here 3 weeks. Diagnosis: acute stress disorder, compounded by betrayal trauma and sleep deprivation." She wanted to scream, but all she did was cry. Alone. Her phone was flooded. Investor withdrawals. Nexa tech statements distancing the company from Amara's condition. News headlines. Tech co-founder hospitalized amid legal disputes. Mystery meltdown. Nexa's silent partner speaks out. She was painted as unstable. The truth? She had been overworked and betrayed. Weeks passed. A kind nurse named Ruth gave her a flash drive one evening. "This came with your things," she said. "Looks important." Inside, backup files, voice memos, early code drafts, and a digital note Amara had written to herself. "If you're reading this, you've hit the wall. But remember, the code is yours. The vision is yours. And your father believed in you." She broke down again, but this time, the tears were fuel. 6 months later. No longer in hospitals. No longer Googling mental breakdown recovery. Amara was working remotely, small freelance gigs to survive. She shaved off her pride like a snake shedding skin. She read legal documents. Followed investor trails. Pieced together every trace of the project that once bore her name. And then she disappeared. From London. From social media. From everyone. She called one person before leaving. Her former flatmate, Liam, a cybersecurity student. "Lee, I need your help." He met her in a park. She looked thinner. Calmer. But her eyes? Sharper than ever. "I want to vanish," she said. "But I want to watch them while I do." He nodded. "We can set up a digital cloak. VPNs, burner IDs, fake accounts." They shook hands. Operation Phoenix began. Back to present Iruolu Town. Amara sat on the edge of the small cot in the maid's quarters. She stared at her reflection in a cracked mirror. The woman staring back wasn't the same girl who'd once dreamed of billion-dollar valuations. She was something newer. Harder. Sharper. She opened her laptop again and typed a single line on a blank email. "Did you think I was dead, Kira?" She clicked send from an anonymous address. Then she attached one of the voice memos. A recording of Kira admitting. She wrote every line. But who cares? The world rewards confidence, not genius. Moments later, in a glossy London apartment, Kira's phone buzzed. She opened the anonymous email. Her face went pale. Meanwhile, in Amara's tiny room in Nigeria, the Wi-Fi flickered and stabilized. The phoenix wasn't rising. She was circling. Iruolu Town, the Bennett estate. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the Bennett estate as Amara followed Maureen, her stepmother, through the back corridor of the house. Your old room is, full of stored items now, Maureen said with a smug grin, not bothering to look back. But I've arranged something. Cozy. Private. They passed the once beautiful guest room with its white drapes. Past her father's library, now padlocked. Past the hallway lined with framed family photos, none of which featured Amara. Her feet grew heavier with each step. Finally, Maureen stopped at the end of a side corridor, near the servants' entrance. She pushed open a creaking wooden door. A musty scent escaped into the hallway. The maid's quarters. It was small. Maybe 8 feet by 6. A narrow cot pressed against one wall. A cracked mirror hung crookedly. A worn ceiling fan clicked noisily above. Maureen smiled like she'd handed her a suite at the Ritz. It's quiet. Out of everyone's way. I've asked Janet, the house girl, to bring you a kerosene lamp. We're conservative with power back here. Amara nodded slowly. Maureen raised an eyebrow. No complaints. Amara's voice was soft but steady. I've slept in hospital closets. This is an upgrade. For a moment, Maureen's confidence wavered. But she turned quickly. Dinner's at 7. If you're not too busy being modest. Amara shut the door behind her. She stood in the center of the room, breathing in the air, thick with mothballs and faded dreams. She didn't cry. She didn't complain. She pulled her small suitcase onto the bed and unzipped it. Inside, a rolled-up hoodie. A journal with a red ribbon. The same USB drive she had hidden in a stitched seam. An old Nokia phone, modified by Liam to receive encrypted messages. And a folded photograph, her and her father, standing in front of a bronze lion statue. She stared at it. You told me to come home if I ever needed to reset, she whispered. I just didn't know I'd be coming back invisible. It was Janet, the young housemaid. Maybe 19. Timid. Slippers half-worn. She held out a lamp. I put a basin in the corner. For your water. If you need it. Thank you, Amara said kindly. Janet blinked. You're the first to say that here. She lingered. Then asked in a hushed tone, is it true? You were in London? With Oyibo people and fast cars? Amara smiled faintly. London, yes. Fast cars? Only when I was running late to work. Janet giggled. They say you ran mad. Amara's smile didn't falter. Maybe. But sometimes, breaking is how you change shape. Janet tilted her head, confused. But she liked Amara instantly. You're different, she whispered. Not like Leke and them. Dinner. The dining room glittered. Chandeliers above. Marble floors below. Crystal glasses and fine china. But Amara's seat was absent. She stood awkwardly until Maureen gestured toward the end of the table. Oh, I thought you'd already eaten. I haven't. Well, we didn't want to pressure you, Maureen smiled tightly. You seemed simple these days. Leke chuckled under his breath. Amara sat. Every clink of cutlery sounded like mockery. So, sister, Leke said, wiping his mouth. Any chance you're here to stay? Not really. Makes sense. Nothing left for you here. Silence. Then, out of nowhere, Maureen asked, did you ever get married? No. Kids? No. So what exactly were you doing in London? Washing dishes. Amara locked eyes with her. Sometimes, she said. Other times, I was building systems you can't even pronounce. Maureen's smile faltered. Later that night, back in the maid's room, Amara typed furiously on a small old laptop. The USB drive was in. Files opened. Photos. Contracts. Dates. Encrypted notes from her past. Each file a piece of her shattered empire. A Google Doc flickered open. Reclamation Plan version 3.0. She updated her progress. White heavy checkmark tracked Nexateca's latest valuation. White heavy checkmark retrieved patent files. White heavy checkmark drafted anonymous tip email to Nigerian Daily Tech. White heavy checkmark scheduled email to investors. 3 o'clock countdown to birthday, 28 hours. Her hand hovered over one file, a voice recording titled, Dad, last call. She clicked. Amara, if you ever feel like the world is too heavy, remember, this land is still yours. But only if you choose it. She stared at the screen until the playback stopped. Then she stood, walked to the tiny bathroom corner, and splashed cold water on her face. She looked into the mirror. Her reflection whispered, they don't know who's living in this room. Downstairs, Maureen's bedroom. Maureen lay awake. Leke scrolled through TikTok beside her. She's acting strange, Maureen muttered. Too quiet. Maybe London made her humble. She was never humble. You remember how your father doted on her. Leke sneered. Always talking about Amara this, Amara that. She's up to something, Maureen said. Mark my words. But the truth was, they weren't worried about her. They were afraid of something she might still become. So, a slow drizzle began. The kind that smelt like nostalgia and buried secrets. Inside the tiny room, Amara turned off the lamp and curled beneath a thin blanket. As the rain tapped the rusted window pane, she whispered to herself. You gave me the maid's room. But you forgot I used to own the building. You should have seen her, Maureen said, her voice tight with annoyance. Dragging her bag like some refugee. And now she expects what? Sympathy? Re-entry into this family? Leke's voice, casual and smug, replied, Relax, Mum. She'll be gone soon. Probably realize there's no pot of gold at the end of the London hustle. And what if she hasn't come to beg? What if she knows something? Maureen's tone shifted. Leke paused. Like what? You forget, Maureen said, her voice dropping to a whisper. Your father made some unusual arrangements in his last months. I couldn't find all the papers. Just a draft will. There may be more. Footsteps approached. Amara stepped back into the shadows. A housekeeper appeared from a side hallway and gave her a startled look. Sorry, madam, I didn't see you. Amara smiled faintly. Don't worry. She waited until the conversation inside stopped, then walked in. Maureen turned mid-sip of her coffee, her lips twitching into a fake smile. Oh, good morning, dear. Sweet? Amara walked to the table, poured herself tea. Like royalty. Leke chuckled behind his phone. You always had a sharp tongue. And you always had a short memory, she replied, sitting down. The table was laid, fried plantains, pap, toast, and stewed eggs, but only Leke and Maureen had served themselves. Amara took a small plate and helped herself, moving slowly, deliberately. Leke eyed her. So what's the plan, sis? Start over here? Teach coding to village kids? Sell recharge cards? Amara didn't blink. Just observing for now. You can learn a lot in silence. Maureen cut in. You don't need to play mysterious. If you're in trouble, say it. Maybe we can get you a small place in town. Something manageable. But staying here, that's not sustainable. And yet, Amara said, sipping her tea, here I am. There was silence for a beat. Maureen smiled again, colder this time. You've always been dramatic. Your father indulged it. But he's not here now. Amara set her cup down. No, he's not. But his legacy is. The tension in the room sharpened like a drawn blade. Leke snorted. Legacy? Please. You abandoned everything. Don't act like you're some fallen princess returning to reclaim the throne. Maureen leaned forward. You think this is a Nollywood film? Amara stood slowly. No. In Nollywood, villains always get what's coming. Real life takes a little longer. She walked away before they could respond. By midday, the estate was buzzing with staff movement. Housekeepers cleaning, drivers washing cars, cooks preparing lunch. Amara wandered through the grounds like a ghost, unseen by many but watched by all. She passed her old garden, now overgrown. The small reading hut her father had built for her when she turned 16, now used for storing paint buckets. The memories rose like smoke, birthday parties under the mango tree, quiet evenings reading beside her father, Maureen's icy stares when no one was watching. Amara stopped at the backyard, where two housemaids were whispering over laundry. They went silent as she approached. "Don't stop on my account," Amara said calmly. The older one, Ngozi, gave a nervous smile. "Ah, welcome back, madam." "Thank you. How long have you worked here?" "6 years, Ngozi said. "Since Oga died." "And you?" Amara asked the younger maid. 3 years, the girl replied. Amara nodded. "Was anything ever moved from the old storage room?" "My former bedroom." Ngozi shook her head. "No, madam. But Madam Maureen say make nobody enter there again. She keep padlock sometimes." "I see." She walked on, her eyes scanning every window, every lock, every possibility. That evening, Maureen hosted a few of her friends, a group of society women who wore their wealth like war medals. The living room became a theater of judgment and laughter. Amara walked in unnoticed at first. One of the women, a tall woman with layers of gold jewelry, whispered, "Is that her? The abroad one that came back with nothing?" Another chuckled. "She's even darker now. Abroad didn't bleach her one bit. She doesn't look like someone who studied in London. Maybe she only passed Heathrow before they sent her back." They laughed, soft, elegant cruelty. Maureen stood and clapped her hands. "Ladies, please. This is Amara. You remember her?" Amara smiled with biting poise. "No need for introductions. Everyone here has already told my story better than I could." The room went quiet. Maureen chuckled awkwardly. She always had jokes. One woman, braver than the rest, asked, "So, what happened over there, dear? You were doing so well." Amara stared at her, then said, "Life happened. People betrayed me. And I learned that silence is a better currency than pride." There was another silence, deeper this time. Maureen quickly moved to change the subject. "Well, you know, not everyone is cut out for the abroad struggle. That's why it's good to come home. Find your roots again. Maybe marry, settle down." "I'll consider that," Amara said, right after I finished digging up what was buried here. Maureen's wine glass trembled slightly in her hand. That night, Amara sat on the veranda with her journal open. The moonlight bathed her face in silver. She wrote carefully, each word a fragment of memory and intent. She heard footsteps, like... He pulled a chair beside her, holding a bottle of whiskey. "No hard feelings, sis," he said, pouring 2 glasses. "We just didn't expect you." "I'm sure." He handed her a glass. "You know, Maureen's been edgy since you came. You stir things. Wake up old ghosts." Amara took the glass but didn't drink. Some ghosts deserve to be disturbed. Leke looked at her for a long time. "You really came back for something, didn't you?" "I came back for everything." There was a flicker of fear in his eyes, masked quickly by a grin. "Well, good luck with that," he said, standing. "But don't be surprised if some doors don't open anymore." Amara replied quietly, "Then I'll break the locks." She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she sat on the floor of her small room, the flash drive in her hand, and a question burning in her mind. What exactly did Maureen and Leke hide after father died? Something wasn't adding up. Not just the strange storage of her old room. Not just the fake cheer. But the smug confidence. The carefully polished lie that no one had challenged, until now. She whispered to herself, "If you took what was mine, Maureen, I'll take it all back." She opened her journal and wrote just one line. "Day 2, the ice is melting. They're hiding something. I can feel it." Then she lay down and waited for dawn. The market in Iruolu Town was more than a place to buy tomatoes. It was the heartbeat of gossip, the parliament of whispers, the echo chamber of ruined reputations and resurrected legacies. And this week, the name on every tongue was Amara Bennett. "Did you see the way she dressed at church? Like someone who came to borrow salvation," said Mama Nkechi, the pepper seller. "I heard she came back with nothing. Not even a proper phone," replied Uncle Deo, the town's self-proclaimed philosopher. "She used to be so brilliant. Abroad, ABI? Now she's squatting in the help's quarters," another vendor chimed in. The rumor mill spun fast. Some claimed she had been deported. Others said she lost her mind and came back to die quietly. Only a few, like the tailor's apprentice, whispered another version. She walks like someone waiting for something big. At the estate gate, kids dared each other to peek at the Bennett house. Let's go see the mad London girl. Amara noticed them. She walked to the gate, looked directly at them, and smiled. The kids ran. But one boy, about 10 years old, stood his ground. My uncle says you were a queen over there. Now you're like us, he said boldly. Amara crouched down. And what's wrong with being like you? He blinked. You're not angry? She handed him a folded 500 Nigerian nairas note. Tell your uncle, queens never die. They retreat. Inside the house, Maureen was livid. She stormed into the living room with a newspaper in hand. She's becoming a spectacle, she hissed. Leke shrugged. Let them talk. If she's poor, it'll blow over. Maureen paced. People are curious. Curious people ask questions. Questions bring truth. Leke didn't understand her fear, but she understood Amara's silence better than most. Back in the maid's room, Amara opened her laptop. A new encrypted message came in. Subject: Investor Trail, Update Number 2. From Crow's Eye, Liam. 2 investors in Nexitech are requesting a second look at your name. They've seen your London conference footage. You're getting under someone's skin. She smiled. Outside, the town was gossiping. Inside, she was calculating. Every house has a wound. Hers bled beneath the floorboards. The Bennett estate once symbolized prosperity, but now it was filled with secrets, and Amara was about to exhume one. She crept through the hallway like a shadow, barefoot, holding a dim flashlight. She stopped in front of a locked room, her old bedroom. Once, it held trophies, books, tech gear, and letters from her father. Now it was storage. Maureen had thrown her past into boxes. Amara produced a small pin from her hair and worked the lock with eerie ease. She entered. The air was stale. A single bulb flickered on. Boxes towered over dusty bookshelves. Her old bed frame was jammed behind garden equipment. But her eyes went to the floorboard, beneath where her desk once stood. She knelt, peeled back the edge. And there it was. A hollow compartment. Inside, a manila folder labeled Lion Blue Project. A blueprint of a smart grid framework for African metros. Early business contracts, signed in both her and Kira's names. A second USB drive. Her breath caught. This is what they erased. She took photos of everything and zipped it into a digital folder. Reclamation_part 2.zip. Just then, a sound behind her. She turned. Janet. Eyes wide. I was coming from the kitchen, she whispered. Did you see anything? No, I didn't see. I won't say. Amara stared at her, then handed her 2,000 Nigerian nairas. For your silence. Janet nodded, but her curiosity had already taken root. The next morning, Maureen found the door unlocked. She stormed into the kitchen. Who touched the storage room? No one answered. But Janet avoided her gaze. And Amara? She was back in the maid's room, brewing tea, calm as a pond. Back in London, Liam's apartment. He inserted the second USB into a scrubbed computer. His eyes widened. Inside was a legal agreement, a clause that proved Amara's contribution as the primary IP originator of Nexitech. Liam typed. Amara, this is it. This doc could reverse everything. It even has timestamps and geotags tied to your email. She replied. Hold it. Don't drop the hammer yet. Let the house burn first. In Nigeria, Amara's secret arsenal. She began building anonymous folders online. Leaked voice notes of investor meetings. Screenshots of internal Slack messages between Kira and lawyers. Early media interviews where she was cropped out. She was writing a digital truth bomb. Then she visited a local cyber cafe, paid in cash, and used a false name to upload everything to a Google Drive. She named the folder Project Lazarus. One email address. reporter@technoafrica.net. Subject: You missed the real founder of Nexitech. She hit send. Back in London, Kira jolted awake to 50 missed calls and a trending hashtag. Hashtag where is Amara? She screamed. She didn't have a voice, so she became a whisper in everyone's inbox. Back in Iruolu, Amara strolled through the town square. Vendors stared now. With less pity, more confusion. Wasn't she supposed to be crumbling? Instead, she looked focused. Meanwhile, across email servers in Nigeria and the UK, CEOs received PDFs from a Jane Doe. Investors read patent timelines that didn't match Kira's. Tech bloggers were being fed a juicy breadcrumb trail. Each email signed off with, "You backed the wrong founder. Do your homework." In the Bennett living room, Leke saw something on Twitter. A thread titled, "Nexateca's Mysterious Nigerian Ghost Co-Founder." He clicked. Saw a blurry picture of Amara speaking at a London seminar. He turned pale. He ran to Maureen. She's going viral. Maureen didn't understand. What does that mean? She's exposing something. And people are listening. Maureen's face turned stone. She's not poor. She's plotting. Amara stood before a dusty old cabinet in the house library. She'd bribed the old groundskeeper to let her in. Behind a row of outdated encyclopedias, she found a brown envelope addressed to be opened if Amara returns before June 4, 2025. Today was June 3rd. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside, a copy of her father's final will. The clause was clear. Should Amara Bennett return to this estate before her 30th birthday, she shall inherit 75% of the family's land, holdings, and intellectual property, including stakes in local businesses. Failing which, the estate defaults to Maureen and her son, Leke. She clutched it like a lifeline. She had one day left. In the living room, Maureen's lawyer, Barrister Iadil, arrived in panic. "You didn't destroy all copies of the will?" Maureen hissed. "We hid them. I told you, she'd never come back. She's here. And if she presents that clause, she owns this house." Leke's jaw dropped. "We'll fight it," Maureen barked. "We'll bury her in paperwork." But in her heart? She knew. The past had come knocking. She was a ghost until her story lit the internet on fire. Morning broke with the roar of chaos. In Lagos, TechnoAfrica.net published an article titled, "The Forgotten Founder, the Nigerian Woman Who Built Nexatec and Was Erased." Featured a video of Amara pitching the Lion Blue project at a London summit. Emails between her and the now famous co-founder, Kira Vaughn. Legal documents showing her as co-originator of Nexateca's foundational algorithm. Voice notes of investor calls where her name was scrubbed from contracts. Within an hour, Twitter/X erupted. Hashtag Justice for Amara. Hashtag The Real Founder. Hashtag Nexatec Scandal. By noon, she was on the front page of BBC Africa's tech section. By 3 p.m., Al Jazeera had requested an interview. At the Bennett estate, Maureen's hands trembled as she poured tea. The cup clattered against the saucer. Leke sat frozen, phone in hand. "Read it to me again," Maureen demanded. He did. Amara Bennett, the Nigerian tech prodigy who vanished 3 years ago after a mental breakdown, has resurfaced as the original mind behind Nexatec. A video autoplayed, Amara standing beside a whiteboard, drawing out a data security protocol. Her voice firm. British accented. Brilliant. The girl they mocked in the maid's quarters now trended in 10 countries. Janet, the maid, walked by slowly, a knowing smirk on her face. Maureen shot her a glare. She's been hiding all this? Leke mumbled. "No," Maureen said bitterly. "She was waiting." They laughed at the beggar, until she became the mirror. The town's chatter shifted. No more jokes. No more pity. Regret. Envy. People gathered at kiosks watching news clips of Amara. The same woman who had walked barefoot through their dusty market had been in boardrooms with billionaires. Church. The following Sunday, Amara attended service quietly. Heads turned. The pastor, once dismissive, now extended a glowing welcome. "Sister Amara, we thank God for your testimony. You are proof of divine restoration." She gave a half smile. Even Mama Nkechi, who once mocked her clothes, now pressed a basket of free peppers into her hands. Just a small gift for our celebrity. Back home, Maureen tried to be sweet. You must be tired, dear. Let me send someone to clean your room properly. Amara looked up from her tablet. I'm moving into my old room. The maid's quarters can go back to the staff. Leke chimed in awkwardly. Maybe we can talk? I can help with investments if you need. She paused, gave him a long look. You used to laugh when I came back hungry. His mouth opened. She continued. I'm not angry, but don't mistake silence for blindness. They stole her company. She built a better one. Amara flew to Lagos. Dressed in sleek navy, heels clicking across the marble floor of a luxury office tower, she entered a boardroom filled with reporters and investors. Liam stood by her side. On the projector screen, Phoenix Grid Technologies. Her new company. A hybrid of clean energy and AI-driven smart city tech, based on her Lion Blue project blueprint. This isn't just revenge, she began. It's resurrection. She didn't hide the Nexatech betrayal. She owned it. I let someone else write my ending. That ends today. Applause erupted. CNN Africa tweeted a clip. Amara Bennett, the Phoenix of Lagos. Investor email flooded in. A Dubai-based venture group pledged $5 million. 2 African tech leaders offered partnerships. Women in tech groups across the continent began trending her story. Kira Vaughn? She locked her Twitter account and issued a dry statement. Creative differences and miscommunication. No one believed her. She didn't burn bridges. She bought them and shut them down. Back at the Bennett estate, Amara called a family meeting. Maureen entered first, dressed humbly. Leke followed, tense. Amara sat at the head of the table. I've met with the estate's lawyer. As of today, the inheritance clause has been executed. Leke blinked. Meaning? I own 75% of this estate, she said evenly. Land, business shares, all of it. Maureen's voice cracked. Please, don't evict us. We're still family. I'm not throwing anyone out. But this house will be managed by a professional agency. The staff Maureen hired? They're terminated. Janet can stay, she was honest. Leke stood up. You're humiliating us. No, Amara replied calmly. You did that to yourselves when I needed you most. Silence. Then she pushed 2 envelopes across the table. One each, 2 million Nigerian nairas. You can start fresh. Leke muttered, Is this a buyout? No, she replied. It's mercy. She packed her few remaining belongings. Janet walked her to the car, teary-eyed. I never believed all they said. You were always different. Amara smiled. Take care of the house. It's yours now. She didn't need revenge. She needed peace. As her black SUV pulled out of the estate gates, Amara leaned back in the seat. She stared out the window as the familiar gates closed behind her. In the rearview mirror she saw Maureen watching with eyes hollow. Leke smoking quietly, his pride punctured. A group of neighborhood kids pointing and smiling, whispering, That's her? That's Amara. She rolled down the window, waved once, then faced forward. The skyline of Lagos rose in the distance, glittering, alive, and waiting. Her new office, her team, her voice, finally hers. She whispered to herself, not revenge, just resurrection. And with that, the gates of her past closed. For good. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell for newly created content.